wait for my sign.
We start now? Yes, now. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and members of the press, a warm welcome to this press conference titled Ethics at the Heart of the Energy Transition.
Can they show the slide?
I'm Sonia Olsson. I'm coordinating the Brahma Kumaris environment activities, and I'm very happy to moderate this session. The theme of COP28 today, the 5th of December, is energy and industry, just transition, and indigenous peoples. The world needs to decarbonize rapidly, but also a just transition lies in the heart of the mindset and ethics. Our distinguished speakers today are thought leaders in the realm of spirituality, energy transition, and ethical investment. But they're also leaders in setting a practical example and implementing their wisdom. So welcome to Sister Jenti, Additional Administrative Head of the Brahma Kumaris, and Dr. Lorna Gold, the CEO of Faith Invest, and Golo Pils, Energy Advisor for the Brahma Kumaris. Welcome. So Golo Pils will start our session with a presentation on the impactful work undertaken by Brahma Kumaris for a just energy transition. Following Golo, Dr. Lorna will share her insights on ethical principles for investment. And finally, Sister Jenti will impart her wisdom on which mindset is needed for a just transition. And after, I hope we'll have some questions from us audience. So let me start to introduce Golo Pils. He's the advisor to Brahma Kumaris on renewable energy. And since the early 1990s, he has played a key role in establishing the Brahma Kumaris as one of the major users of renewable energy in India. And part of that renewable energy investment is India One solar thermal power plant, who can run on solar energy 24 hours per day, and he will share more about that. Golo advocates sustainable solutions through ethical and value-based approach, and has been presenter and part of many UN climate conferences. So welcome to Golo.
Yes, Sonia, thank you very much for starting this meeting, and I straight come to the point. For ethical and moral-based action, it's very important to adopt a visionary leadership. So it's important to create this vision and communicate it properly. Integrity is necessary, and actions rooted in morals and ethics, setting clear goals and motivating those around. And luckily in our institution, which is administrated by women, we have a lot of elderly women which are very inspirational, very good leaders, and they inspired us to set up a department for renewable energies. And we conducted research in photovoltaic, solar steam, water recycling, solar hot water plants, solar passive architecture, and solar thermal power and energy efficiency. And we started more than 25 years ago. Here you see one of our solar cooking systems, which we built in 1997. It's just demolished and replaced by a new one. It's based on 24 dishes, and we produce low-pressure steam. Here you can see another solar steam cooking system, which we built in 1999, and that is based on 84 parabolic Scheffler dishes and we produce 3,500 kilograms of steam, and we cook 35,000 meals a day. That system is still operational, and we produce steam for our main headquarters, our ashram in Abu Road in Shantivan, where we can host 25,000 people, and we cook for all these people by the power of sun. Here you see another solar steam system which we set up at our hospital. It's based on an improved dish of 12 square meter, and we produce steam for the laundry and for sterilization. Here you can see an updated 16 square meter parabolic dish, all built in-house. And so the thermal projects at Brahma Kumaris are very successful and still going on. We promote also the solar cooking box, very easy to handle, very cheap, very robust. Solar lantern, also a big issue in India. 60,000 villages without electricity, so solar lantern is very helpful. Here you can see our Om Shanti Retreat Center near Delhi, and there we have installed a 400 kilowatt photovoltaic plant and also solar steam cooking system. We are running at present around 800 photovoltaic systems in India. We have 5,000 meditation centers in India, 1,000 abroad. And in India, we're trying to roll out renewable energy systems for all our meditation centers and use them as a replicator into the society. So many systems, usually with batteries, standalone systems. Sometimes we also feed into the grid. But in India, the grid is very unstable, so standalone is a good option, and we're still using old-fashioned batteries. This is a project which we undertook 10 years ago, India One. It's a 1 megawatt solar thermal power station, which we built under funding from the German government, the Indian government, and the Brahma Kumaris. We took collaboration with the Fraunhofer Research Institute and built a 1 megawatt solar thermal power plant with storage. Storage is one of the very critical issues towards clean energy transition. And we built 770 dishes of 60 square meters. And here you can see the plant finally. On the right side, you can see 1 megawatt photovoltaic, and the plant is operational, and we can store the energy for 24 hours. Here you see training and education, and we train and educate all the local population, and also carried out more than 50 workshops for engineers in India on thermal technology. This is a new biogas waste management plant which is coming up right now. We collect our waste, segregate it, and we run a generator, 50 kilowatt generator for 8 hours. We also have a tree plantation program called Kalp Taru, and planted already 2 million trees. We have a sustainable yogic farming project where we train farmers in organic farming with very good results. So the new paradigm, which is very important for all of us to follow, highest moral and ethical standards shall be the guiding principle for our action and policies. If we all follow moral and ethical standards, I'm sure this climate conference would be a success. We at Brahma Kumaris propagate meditation as a means to adopt these ethics and these moral standards. We have a platform called Yogis for Future, which is a free app, and you can meditate 5 minutes for the self, for the world, for renewable energies, and even for the COP you can meditate, no problem, and send good vibrations and good thoughts. And as we all know, thoughts are very powerful and reach everybody. So I'm sure if we all join hands and have good thoughts and a loving and compassionate attitude, we all can solve this problem on the planet. Thank you very much for your attention.
So thank you very much, Golo, for giving that overview and for reminding us on the power of our thoughts. Next speaker, Dr. Lorna Gold, is the Chief Executive of Faith Invest, which she joined in 2020. Before that, she has worked on a senior level in Trocare, the official overseas development agency of the Catholic Church in Ireland. She is a leading voice in the faith, consistent investing in the Catholic Church, and supported the Irish Bishops' Conference to divest from fossil fuels. She is the chair of the Laudato Si movement and the member of the Vatican COVID Commission Economic Task Force. So welcome, Lorna.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's very timely that this session is happening immediately after the Climate Action Tracker session, which decisively pointed to the fact that we're heading in the wrong direction, with many countries investing in the expansion of fossil fuels and making it virtually impossible for the world as it stands, unless something changes at COP, to stick within the 1.5 degrees target or threshold. Investment in renewable energy has increased significantly over the past decade, but most of this increase in clean energy investment since 2021 has taken place in wealthy countries, leaving poorer countries behind and ensuring that a considerable portion of the world's population remains at the margins in the transition to a clean energy future. A 1.5 compatible energy transition requires global investment of more than $5 trillion per annum until the year 2050. The transition to clean energy is not just a technological or economic challenge or opportunity, it's a moral challenge. In Laudato Si, and his recently published Laudato Deum, Pope Francis cautioned against a technocratic approach, a paradigm, to how we address climate breakdown and energy transition. If the energy transition is not based on authenticity, integrity, values, it does not have an integral ecology at its core. We will see the most vulnerable communities on the margins bearing the costs of the energy transition. The pace of investment in clean energy needs to be ramped up considerably, but it cannot leave anyone behind and must ensure equality of access for all. Energy transition is not just an opportunity to invest in new technologies, but to invest in a future that aligns with our deepest values, including social justice, human rights, responsibility, stewardship, and earth care. What role do ethical, socially, and environmentally responsible investments play in this? And how can faith-based organizations such as Brahma Kumaris contribute? Investments should not only bring about financial returns, but also contribute to the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants. At Faith Invest, we invite faith-based investors to ask themselves how their investments are contributing to a more sustainable world. Are we supporting companies that prioritize renewable energy, respect for the environment, and social responsibility? Are we bringing our core values of faith on care for the earth and care for our other human brothers and sisters through how we manage our finances? At Faith Invest, we believe in the power of deeply held faith values. Common to all faiths, we believe in the power of faith-consistent investing. In the teaching of Brahma Kumaris, there's a profound emphasis on harmony, balance, and the interconnection of all life. These principles align seamlessly with ethical investment practices. Ethically aligned investments inject values and ethics into the energy transition to help ensure that energy transition can be fair, just, and adhere to human rights and respect for the environment. But faith-based organizations may have good intentions in this regard with their investments. Much more needs to be done. Recent research at Faith Invest showed that 45% of over 100 faith organizations we surveyed made no mention of their faith values in their investment policies. This means they are pretty much precluded from any strategies to advance ethical values and beliefs in their investments. We believe that this needs to change and can change. There is a growing environmental movement within the faiths, and we need to support that in terms of the implementation across investment practices. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lorna. And it was good to be reminded of what ethical principles actually means, such as authenticity, integrity, justice, responsibility, etc. Thank you. Sister Genti, Sister Jenti is the additional administrative head of the Brahma Kumaris, a main representative of Brahma Kumaris to the UN in Geneva, also director of our activities in Europe and Middle East. As a spiritual teacher for nearly 60 years, she has dedicated her life to self-transformation and world transformation. And since 2009, she has headed our delegation to the climate change conferences and been on many international platforms, bringing spiritual perspective to the environment crisis. So welcome, Sister Jenti.
Thank you, Sonia, and thank you also to the other panelists for sharing very valuable information. Since we have all those technical details, both in terms of the work of the Brahma Kumaris in renewable energies as well as Faith Invest, I'll keep myself to comments of a spiritual nature, because really, truly, from a perspective of spirituality, the world is one family, the planet is the one home for all of us, and we have the responsibility of taking care of nature as being sacred and all forms of life also as being sacred. And the problem comes when we come into material consciousness. From a spiritual perspective, really there are no problems. But as soon as we come into the limited perspective of materialism and commercialism, then this is where all the problems begin, and we start cutting ourselves off from each other. And so the awareness of the interconnectedness of life is lost, and then each one is to their own, with a lot of greed and selfishness and ego. And so I see that it's actually a spiritual crisis, that we have to deal with these negative traits of human beings at the present time. And if, even as a small experiment, I were to try and say, well, can I see my family not just as the members of 4 family, but can I see the family within my community? Am I treating all within my community as my family? Am I able to treat those who are my neighbors as my family? There would be a lot more caring and sharing. And of course, when we look at the whole wide world and we see the inequalities that exist at the present time, and COVID and post-COVID, it feels as if the inequalities have actually become more and more. They've intensified. And so at this moment of time, with 1% of the world creating carbon emissions that is equal to 60% of the world's poor, where do we stand? I don't see how it's possible to reduce emissions, how it's possible to change the whole scenario, unless together we understand that it is one family and one home for all of us. There was a time when we would say that it was the developing world that was having problems with climate, and we would say that the developed world was fine, and we forgot that we're sitting in the same boat. And the water coming in on one side is also going to reach ankles on the other side, and the whole boat is going to be underwater. And so I think now that we've seen the impact of climate change across the world in so many tragic situations, I think we're beginning to understand this. And I see that loss and damage is an outcome in which, because there have been so many disasters across the developed world, while it was just happening in the developing world, there was no movement at all. So I see that this change of awareness is absolutely critical. And when that happens within one, it can reach out to at least 100 others, and 100 can reach out to 100,000 others. So it's not a dream that's impossible, but the vision of justice, of equality, of peace and harmony is something that human beings aspire for, and I think human beings can achieve with just this little change of consciousness and the awareness of sharing the resources of the planet with all. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sister Jenti. And it's a very good question where to start. The COP conferences is very complex, and Here we have side events and programs affecting all areas and addressing all areas of life and our planet. So where to start? And one little start in our consciousness can have a ripple effect. So let's see if there are any questions. Yes, please, we need the mic here, and you to stand up or sit down. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, my name is Uzmi. I'm for Sister Jayanti. From the spiritual front, India is a spiritually very rich country. What do you expect that from India at this platform of COP, which is full of negotiations and technical stuff? And just a related question is that we also have a faith pavilion this year. And so what significance, in your opinion, a pavilion of faith can play in the negotiations here? Thank you.
84% of the world's population belong to some faith tradition or another. And so the Faith Pavilion, I think, is a very, very important addition because it's reaching out to people who actually make up the vast majority of humanity. And all faiths see nature as being sacred. And I think that in terms of India and our contribution, I think our practices of simplicity, of yogic lifestyle, all of these can be a huge contribution. I know that there's a whole story of dependency on coal. I'm very aware of that. But I also see how renewable energies are coming up more and more to the foreground. And I think very quickly a time's going to come when there will be this understanding that by increasing the output of renewable energy, we're going to not need fossil fuels. That's my hope. And I think that it's a possibility. But certainly one other major factor can be that spirituality teaches life is sacred. And so if we can move to plant-based diet, I think that would also be a big contribution. My expectation is that India will come to that awareness that they have to increase their proportion of renewable energy so that then they play a bigger role there.
Thank you. Dr. Lorna has to go 5 minutes early, so if anyone has a question for Lorna Gold, then please, it's now. Is you? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. My name is Danang. It's just a quick question. I'm very interested with the ethical investment and then the value-based approach as well. How do you think these two approaches, the value-based approach and then the ethical investment, can be upscaled and mainstreamed into the policy process? Thank you.
It's very hard to see how they fit right now in the way that the negotiations are being constructed. But I think that there are initiatives happening within the European Union around ESG, around how non-financial disclosures on climate and nature that are very important steps forward. I think this will shift when the demand starts to come for such investments, and that there is more transparency in terms of the way that the investments are. We address the greenwashing that is widespread within the investment community. At Faith Invest, we work specifically with faith investors who, until now, have largely been disconnected from the values base. They have outsourced their investments into the mainstream investment management community, mainstream asset managers, but we can see that starting to shift. And that the claiming of investment values and putting greater demand on the investment management and consultant world to incorporate their values within their investment products is certainly a very welcome step forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah. Any more questions? So may I ask Sister Jayanti to take a 2-minute reflection and silent moment with us to awaken our inner values and ethical principles. So we do a short reflection.
Reflecting on the ethics that are needed: honesty, transparency, connectedness, awareness. Just turning our attention inwards and seeing to what extent my own level of consciousness is material or spiritual. Do I realize I am a spiritual being first and foremost? And yes, I'm here having a human journey, experiencing the joy and beauty and challenges that that brings. And in this awareness of my own spiritual identity, I go deeper within myself and connect with peace. As I come back to a stable, peaceful state of awareness, I'm aware of the power of my thoughts, and I send those thoughts out into the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So finally, we have some announcements. Tonight we have a live stream, Care, Share and Inspire, every evening, daily live stream from COP. And you're welcome to join. Tonight there will be Sister Jenti, the solar cooker, and UNCCD representative interviewed by Golo. Also 11:30 today, inside the room 7, there is another faith-based program. It's the official side event from various faith-based organizations, and the title is From Policy to Practice, Ethical Considerations. And that's inside event room 7, 11:30. And here on the slide, you also see where you can find more information. So I say thank you very much to you here in the room, to the speakers, and to you all online. Thank you. And if you want more information, there are some leaflets there at the entry hall. Thank you.